All right, we're about ready to get started on one of the most interesting things in barbecue, and that's making a great tasting barbecue sauce. You know, my own story starts back almost 35 years ago when I first got interested in barbecue. And the number one thing I knew I had to do was to make a great tasting barbecue sauce. And eventually, after 25 years of experimenting, of which I must have made millions and millions of gallons of sauce, I ended up with Famous Dave's original barbecue sauce, my famous Rich and Sassy, which has won more awards than any other barbecue sauce in America. Again, you know what they say, it ain't bragging if it's the truth. But really, Famous Dave's has won Best Sauce in America at the American Royal Barbecue Contest in Kansas City. You know, if you're going to have a great tasting barbecue sauce, there's no getting around it. You need really great tasting ingredients. You got to have the best of the best. You can't use any old thing and expect that you're going to have a great tasting sauce. So whenever I shop for ingredients, I always want to make sure that I have the freshest ingredients, I have the freshest seasonings, the freshest herbs. As a matter of fact, I even go as far as grinding my own seasonings. All right, I'm going to explain all the different ingredients that go into this great tasting barbecue sauce that we're going to make today. First, I'm starting out with our foundation or the base, and this is Contadina tomato paste. I believe this is probably one of the best tomato pastes on the market. It has a nice texture, plus it's kind of sweet, and it really tastes good to the tongue. And then we have our vinegars, and I use 3 different types of vinegars. I have an apple cider vinegar, just a plain white vinegar, and then balsamic vinegar, which adds some really interesting flavors to the barbecue sauce. Next, I get into our sweeteners, and the number one sweetener I like is honey. And when you buy honey, you just don't want to buy any kind of honey. We want to look for clover honey because I believe that clover honey has got the best overall flavor. Now, this is one of these pitmaster secrets, and it has to do with honey. You see, honey is a magnifier of different flavors. Your spices that you're going to be putting into this barbecue sauce, for some magical reason, honey seems to magnify the spices and the flavor nuances that it brings to the sauce. There's a lot of molasses out on the market, and going to a grocery store, I just didn't reach for the first molasses that I saw on the shelf. I went and bought 5 or 6 different brands of molasses, and then I brought them home and I tasted every one till I figured out that Grandma's was the best molasses for this barbecue recipe. Now, my last sweetener is Carol corn syrup, and if any of you from the South, you know this is a favorite to adding to barbecue sauces. And then next is sea salt. Now, I don't use the type of salt that comes in the blue box. I feel it's too chemical in taste. And the best salt that you can use is sea salt. It has a nice flavor to it and really adds to the barbecue sauce. Going down the line, we have our mustard. And this is another instance where many different mustards are out there on the market. And depending on the barbecue sauce, you may try a different type of mustard. For this particular barbecue sauce, we're just going to use a plain yellow mustard. It'll do the job. You know, to have a great tasting barbecue sauce, you need fresh spices and seasonings. And I don't take any chances when it comes to my spices. I don't even trust the spices that are sitting on a grocery store shelf because you have no idea how long they've been sitting there. So at home, all of my spices and seasonings have a date on it. And any spice or seasoning that's been sitting on my shelf more than 6 months, I take and toss. That's how important having great tasting seasonings are to making great food, whether it's barbecue sauce or any other favorite recipe of yours. So what are the seasonings and spices in our barbecue sauce? Well, we have some crushed red pepper, cayenne, we have some chili powder, and when it comes to nutmeg, I buy the whole nutmeg and I'll take and grind it up myself. We have fresh cloves and I'll take and grind up the cloves. And then finally I have peppercorns, which I'll grind up to make a coarse ground black pepper. And I'll tell you what, there ain't anything more tastier than fresh ground black pepper. It's so important to a great tasting barbecue sauce. Next, we get to the veggies that we're going to be putting into our barbecue sauce. And here I have a sweet Fidelia onion, and I have some cloves of garlic and jalapenos, fresh jalapenos. And the reason why I got this hickory smoked bacon, and by the way, this is Hormel hickory smoked bacon, which I think has one of the better tastes when it comes to hickory smoked bacon. We're going to saute up our veggies in the bacon grease, and that hickory smoke in the bacon will take and transform to the veggies, which will eventually go into our barbecue sauce. I think one of the reasons why Famous Dave's Rich and Sassy Barbecue Sauce has been recognized as the best tasting barbecue sauce in America is because we use real fruit juice. And if you're going to make a great tasting barbecue sauce at home, you got to use fresh juices yourself. Don't buy any frozen concentrate. Use the real thing. Here we have pineapples, limes, lemons. We're also going to be using raisins. Now I just don't use any raisin. I use Sun-Maid baking raisins because they're plumper and moister, and I think they make a better tasting barbecue sauce. Now, fundamental any barbecue sauce is water, and I just don't use tap water. I've got to have pure, clean, purified water, and there's a very good reason. And this is one of those pitmaster secrets, because you do not want to use the water that comes out of the tap. There's a lot of chemicals in tap water, in city water, or if you're in a rural area, you never know what's in that water. It could be hard water. Now, the reason why I want to use purified water is because purified water has flavor carrying abilities that you won't find in city water or hard country water. Purified water helps the flavor come out in your barbecue sauce. Very important to have purified, clean water. Now that we've kind of gone through the basic ingredients for making a great tasting sauce, here's a few pitmaster secrets that will really zip up your barbecue sauce. And one of them is called citric acid. And you can find citric acid in any canning department of any grocery store. And then right towards the end of our barbecue sauce, when it's just hot coming off the grill, I'm going to add a little Kahlua, which really zaps the flavor up. And then sometimes, if I'm really adventurous, I like to add apricot preserves, and all of these combined give a really great taste to your barbecue sauce. I think there's a lot of fun things that you can be doing to make a great tasting barbecue sauce, and all you have to do is get out there, be a little adventurous, try a little bit of this, a little bit of that. If you don't like the taste of this one ingredient, spice it up with something else. But today, all of these different ingredients will give you a good idea of what you can do to make your own great tasting barbecue sauce, which may one day become recognized as the best tasting sauce in America.